Good afternoon, everyone. It is so great to see all of you gathered here. Welcome to Colgate. Let's give everyone a hand. My name is Rebecca Downing. I'm Colgate's Senior Director of Communications and Parent Initiatives, and I'm your host for today's session. Although it has been 35 years, I still remember the day that my parents and a member of our church who offered the use of his Ford Aerostar minivan, which was a brand new kind of vehicle back in 1987, dropped me off at my college. When we said goodbye, I was honestly a bit bewildered when I saw my mom start to cry. But today, I realized that while I was focused on my excitement about this new chapter in my life, Mom was wistfully anticipating the changes she would experience back at home, and probably also nervously wondering what was to come for me. So too, I imagine, you are wondering about what's to come for your student. Well, my colleagues here up on this stage and I are happy to spend the next hour with you to provide some information and insight on that front. Our program will include some information about our philosophy of student development and the ideal parent support model, Colgate experts on support systems and resources. We have a little bit of a change in the program. The phone calls home will not be part of it, but we will make it available in our recording that we will post online. If there's time, we'll do a little bit of questions and answers from the audience. And then I'll just fill you in on parent communications and support. So to start the program, I'd like to introduce Paul McLaughlin. He is our Dean of the college, and he's going to talk about Colgate's philosophy of student development. Paul, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. There are some seats down here in the front if folks want to come on and take, that you'll be role modeling what we're going to ask our students to do in the classroom in just a couple of days. Again, good afternoon. It is my sincere privilege to welcome you as Vice President and the Dean of the College. On behalf of my faculty and staff colleagues, we are so happy you are here. And we are happy to be here with you as you celebrate this important milestone with your children. My role as Dean of the College is to lead a committed team of student affairs professionals who advise, support, mentor, and educate your students. Collectively, we work to ensure that your students' experience outside of the classroom complement the university's academic mission. These 23 departments that comprise the Dean of the College division include departments like the Residential Life Office, Career Services, Student Conduct, the Alana Cultural Center, Campus Safety, Administrative Advising, Student Health Services, just to name a few. You will hear from some of these colleagues this afternoon in what we hope will be an informative session. Rebecca mentioned that we're going to not include some student skits. The goal is to get you down as quickly as possible to the tent for the arrival welcome so that we could start at 2:30 and hopefully miss a little storm cell that's coming through a little bit after 3. So it's about pivoting a little bit today. If you don't mind my asking, I'd love to get started with asking you, for how many of you is this your first child or first family member that you're dropping off to college? Oh, awesome. For how many of you is this your second child that you're dropping off? Excellent, congratulations to you. How about 3? Just keep your hands up for a second. How many have had 4? All right, these are the real experts in the room. As someone who does not have, I don't have children of my own, although sometimes I think about the 3,000 students as a little bit like my own. These are really the real folks that you should get their names and make sure that you connect with them this weekend and also family weekend coming up. To the first-time parents, these are the wise people that I guess that I would ask you to consider as your counselors. But today, I guess, whether this is your first or last, middle, or only child, we know that today is a big day for you and for your family. It's an unforgettable day for your student as well, and we know it's an unbelievably important moment in your lives. I imagine you might be experiencing a range of emotions this afternoon, just as they are right now. Some of these emotions might be excitement or anxiety about the future, maybe some feelings of loss of what used to be, or anxiety about what will happen this year or just over the next week. Others of you may be experiencing relief, even bliss, perhaps. You did make it to this day, and what I hope for you, regardless of your feeling, is that you are feeling a genuine sense of pride. It is such an accomplishment for your student to be a member of the class of Colgate's 2026. It's the most academically talented in Colgate's history, the most selective class from the largest applicant pool in Colgate's more than 2-century history. We should clap for that. And besides their own initiative and hard work that gained them a seat in this class, you, more than anyone else, helped them get to today. You have been teachers, cheerleaders, counselors, coaches, caregivers, their biggest fans, and also drivers who helped them steer back on course when they veered a little. You have been their role models, and you have persevered even through those difficult teenage years. So congratulations to each of you for serving in these roles for almost 2 decades. Give yourself a well-rounded deserved job. So your farewells to your student today are not really a goodbye as much as a see you soon. But still, for some of you, I do want to acknowledge that today may not be the easiest moments. Some of you, though, may be skipping to your car at the end of today and returning home to immediately reclaim a bedroom for another purpose. We would advise you to wait a few months before doing that, I think. But I know that others of you may need to dry your eyes repeatedly through the drive home. And we understand deeply, profoundly, the trust that you're placing in us as you leave your children with us today. In the first official event of their orientation later this afternoon, our new students will be led up the hill by their orientation leaders, which we call links. And I know that you'll be wishing with all of your being that the next few days will be truly memorable and a positive beginning for the next wonderful chapter in their lives. And here's the thing, it will be. So have confidence in us as you have confidence in them that they are in good hands. If you're experiencing any melancholy at all, please know that we are looking forward, have been for the last several weeks, looking forward to welcoming your children, now our students, and helping these adults develop into better scholars, better leaders, more engaged citizens. And we will work hard to make sure that the gains of a Colgate education will be worth it. And in no time, that feeling of pride you have today will grow stronger by what they have become. They are already beginning that developmental journey right now. And let me also assure you they will not be alone at Colgate. These young scholars are surrounded by countless faculty and staff, 1,000 in all, who will work hard to contribute to this incredible education that we provide. We are ready to support them and to challenge them. This is our calling, our profession. It is our passion. We have master's and doctoral degrees in relevant disciplinary fields in student development, education, student affairs, social work, counseling. And yes, Dr. Larson, who you'll hear from, also has a medical doctor degree training. So she is, of course, well equipped to treat your sons and daughters. Many of us, again, have such passion and years of experience with this, that this is probably one of our most exciting days of the academic calendar. Your children will also meet friends sooner than they think. These peers will provide them with support, with friendship, but also hopefully they will challenge their thinking while giving them someone to depend on and with whom to build memories, to be honest with them and to have fun with them. They are their classmates who will challenge their thinking and help expand the knowledge that they will acquire here. I expect you know that in spite of all of the incredible resources here to help your student and all the talented professionals surrounding them, that this experience will not always be easy. In fact, we hope that it isn't always easy for them. I anticipate, even expect, that your student will have to work hard in and out of the classroom, on the athletic field, on the stage, in the library, in the laboratory. They will likely have to work harder than they have ever worked before. Community living, too, will present new challenges and will require them to stretch themselves in new ways. For many of them, this will be the first time to have a roommate or two. Navigating shared living situations and compromising are inevitable and invaluable life skills that only happen if one experiences them directly. But if each of us in this room today were to reflect on the accomplishments in our lives about which we feel most proud, that give us the most meaning, aren't they always the ones that have demanded a lot from us and where we've had to bring our best selves to the task? When we work hard for something that has meaning in our lives, we rarely experience that hard work as a burden, but rather as a gift that fills up our lives and becomes memories we cherish. These experiences, even the most challenging ones, shape who we become. They are the result of living fully and learning deeply. If we avoid the challenge, we miss the opportunity for change. We miss the opportunity for growth. My colleagues and I ask that you support your children as they begin to explore on their own and help them develop a greater independence than they may have had thus far. We ask you to believe in them, again, and in their abilities to solve their own problems and to encourage them when they face these challenges. Please trust us, especially when students find themselves in these challenging moments. Resist the temptation to call on their behalf and instead empower them to work with us in search of a solution. In short, let this be their educational experience. You've done the hard work of helping them get here today, and we now stand ready, if you'll let us, to help guide and provide support over the next 4 years. I ask you to think of the image of a tandem bicycle. They're in the front of the bicycle, you're in the back. You can't really steer, and you probably shouldn't try from the rear. You don't really get to choose the direction either, but you can help provide balance or tip it. This is in stark contrast to the news media you hear about helicopter parents who hover over their children even as they try to become adults and then swoop in at the first sign of trouble. Or newer versions of that helicopter metaphor called the snowplow, the lawnmower, or the bulldozer parent. All with the same connotation, essentially, of ensuring that the path is always clear and that a parent will push over anyone or anything to make it easier. It's morphed, of course, into tiger moms and lion dads. You've probably heard them all at this point. So the parenting style that we suggest is the dolphin parent. Shimi Kang uses this term in her book called The Dolphin Way, A Parent's Guide to Raising Healthy, Happy, Motivated Kids Without Turning into a Tiger. She explains dolphin parenting like this. The dolphin parent is authoritative in nature. Like the body of the dolphin, they are firm but flexible. Dolphin parents have rules and expectations, but also value creativity and independence. They are collaborative and use guiding and role modeling to raise their kids. Remember, you're not abandoning them or saying goodbye today. You're just saying see you soon. And we're asking you to take on a role now that allows them to experience a sense of accomplishment when they work out a solution on their own. We believe this independence is what they need to be productive, engaged adults. So there's one piece of advice I'll offer before I close that comes from a parent as you think about the dolphin parenting posture. A parent once told me that her son wasn't calling often enough, especially during the first few weeks of the semester. And she shared this story with me, and I thought I'd pass it on to you. Because he wasn't responding despite repeated text messages and phone calls and voicemails, she tried this. She put a card in the mail that read, "Dear Sam, I hope this semester is going well and that you're enjoying your classes and your new friends at Colgate. I want you to take a break from your studies this weekend, so here's a gift card for you and your friends to go out to dinner this weekend. Love, Mom." Intentionally, she did not put the gift card inside that And not surprisingly, Sam did call the very day he received that note. So, as you adopt a dolphin posture, you may need to be creative to get them to call you as often as you would like. But also remember to give them some space, because there could be some students who will text and call all the time. And it's okay if you give them a little space to really immerse themselves here, especially over the next few weeks. That's, again, not abandoning them, but it is helpful in creating some of that new independence that I've been talking about. At the end of the day, my biggest message for you is thank you so much for entrusting us and helping your students over the next 4 years. I will see you in another hour where I introduce you to the full class and who they are, but thank you again.
Thank you so much, Paul, for those wise words. And now, we've invited a group of campus experts to discuss the common areas of adjustment that students will be going through in the next few weeks, and the systems and people who are in place to support them through that. Our topics are drawn from prior parent questions, as well as some submitted by some of you through our recent newsletter that we sent over the summer. So if you submitted a question, thank you so very much. So we have today Mary Simonson. She's a professor here. She's in Film and Media Studies and Women's Studies. She is also the co-director of the Brown Commons. Kim Taylor is our Dean for Administrative Advising and Student Conduct. Joe Hernan is Associate Vice President for Emergency Management. Dr. Ellen Larson, class of 1994 at Colgate, herself, is the Director of our Student Health Services, and Dorsey Spencer is our Dean of Students. So, our first question will go to Mary Simonson, Professor Simonson. Part of the Commons system is tied in both academics, it's integrating academics and residential life. Can you talk a little bit about how living in a residence hall, we know, is a new experience for most students? How does our residential life team support this adjustment?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. So as you've probably seen by now, we have a commons system for our first 2 years of living at Colgate. Each of your students was randomly placed, well, not randomly, each of them was placed in a commons. The commons aren't themed or anything like that. So you have made your way to the commons tent. You have been into a commons building already. Each commons has 2 directors. They're either faculty or staff members. And we are here to support your students and to help them think about how they can integrate their living and their learning. And we are also here in the Commons generally to help your students find a community within a community, right? So they're not dealing with the entire class. They have a subset that they belong to from the moment they stepped foot on this campus. In addition to the 2 faculty or staff directors, there's a member of the residential life team who works with us as an area director. They do a great job helping us with facilities issues, with roommate conflicts, with anything that can go wrong or right in our hall. They also support a really fantastic team in each commons of student staff members. And those student staff members are usually called RAs at many schools. Here we call them community leaders or CLs. Each of your students is living on a floor with a CL. They have been training for this position for a while now. They are experienced. They know all of the resources on campus and where to send your students if they need help, and they can help them work their way through problems that they might encounter or give them advice about situations that they'll encounter in their first few days and beyond. The Commons system is an attempt to really bring what's happening in the classroom into the living spaces of our students. And so part of my job as a faculty director is to help get other faculty and other staff and upper class students who are interested in all kinds of things into our spaces to talk with first year and second year students about what's available on campus, what they might be thinking about in terms of classes, how to talk with professors. And it's a chance to meet people outside of the formal sort of setting of the classroom. So you might find me on a Thursday night in the kitchen in Burke cooking with 30 students, or you might find my co-director on Friday mornings serving fresh fruit and yogurt to students in a residence hall. That's what we're here for. We are resources. The residential life staff member, the area director, is an excellent resource for your student as well. And their CLs on their floor are the ultimate resource because they are living right next door. So mentors, fellow students, peers, and a person to turn to in time where you might need help.
Thanks so much, Mary. Second question for you. First and foremost, of course, students come to Colgate for the excellent education that they're going to receive. What would you like family members to know about these first weeks of school, what their students will experience academically, and the support that's in place to help them adjust to the academic rigor here?
Sure. The first thing to know is college is hard, as Dean McLaughlin already said. It is okay if your student calls and is feeling overwhelmed by their courses, or they feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm up for it. They are up for it. Please reassure them that they are here because they are prepared and that college courses are supposed to be hard. They're supposed to be a learning curve. So that's okay, it's expected. The other thing you can remind them is that their faculty are here because we love teaching and we love working with students. Every one of your students already has a first-year seminar. Their professor in that class is their faculty advisor for their first 2 years or until they declare their major, and that person is a resource for them for questions about that particular first-year seminar, but also for any kind of question they have about their academic progress, options, opportunities, potential majors, potential minors, classes to take, classes that they might want to think about taking in different orders, and so on. Most of your students probably have already gotten an email from their faculty advisor, their FSEM professor, and we will be meeting with them on Wednesday for advising. We have all invited them to contact us in the meantime if they need something. On Wednesday, we'll also have our first meeting of our first-year seminar, so even before classes start, that's a chance for your student's advisor and a faculty member to check in with them and make sure everything's okay and they're all set for the first day of classes. The other thing to be aware of, I think, is that talking with faculty sooner rather than later is a great idea. So if your student shows any hesitation about going into office hours or making an appointment with a faculty member, reassure them that that is what we're here for, it's our job, and it's something that we love to do. They should feel free to come in at any time. Our doors are open. Most of the time, we'll always find time to meet with your students. The last thing I'll say is that here at Colgate, we're really interested in learning. Grades are important, and I know for your students, grades have been very, very important up to this point. That's why they're here, is they're high achieving. Our goal here is not for all of the students to get A's. Our goal here is for all of our students to learn, and to learn how to think in rigorous, exciting ways about topics that are maybe familiar to them and that are very unfamiliar to them. So, as much as you can remind your students that as long as they're trying their hardest, they're doing their best, they're applying themselves, they're utilizing all the resources here, the grade at the end of the course doesn't matter as much as what they've learned in the course. So B's, maybe even C's, are perfectly good grades to get in college courses. It doesn't always have to be an A or an A+. That's a big shift from what they're used to in high school, but that's our philosophy here. We want people to be learning and to be growing as thinkers and as individuals.
Thank you so much, Mary. Now, we know that students do sometimes worry about how they will make friends, find their place, and be happy. Dorsey, as Dean of Students, can you share the opportunities for that to happen here at Colgate?
Yes, absolutely. Survival of the fittest, Hunger Games, they just gotta figure it out. No, I'm just joking. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Welcome to Colgate. For those who have not had the opportunity to meet, I've met some of you at the parking lot earlier today. It's great to see everyone. To answer this question, we take that your students' experience very seriously, right? So particularly their ability to find a sense of community or sense of belonging here at the institution. And there are a lot of different ways that a student can do that, but I'll highlight a couple of them and hope that you will encourage them to take advantage of those opportunities, even though there are definitely a lot of other ways to find a sense of community. So the first is by attending all the events we have throughout the year. So every year we have hundreds of events that happen on campus, and they are a wide range of the variety of type of events we have. So concerts, comedy shows, bingo, trail walks, campfires, lectures, parties, so on and so forth. So there is almost always something going on campus, particularly on the weekends. We are very intentional about making sure that there's always something to do for our students on weekends. So encouraging your students to attend those events and programs is something that I would highly recommend so that they can meet other people or new people and find people who have similar interests as them. The second is through student organizations. We have over 200 student organizations at the institution. They also are diverse in their focus, and that's another opportunity for your student to meet people who have similar interests or similar who are like-minded to connect with and build friendships with or companionships with as well. The other is to connect with those who are in their residence hall or in their commons. There are tons of events and programs that take place in the commons. They walk in, they study in the lounges together, they live together. So that's another opportunity for your student to meet different people and build friendships with those who live in their residence hall, on their floor, or in their commons in general. The last one I'll point out that may not be as obvious is student employment. So there's tons of opportunities for students to get jobs on campus as well. And that's another way that our students connect to other students or faculty and staff. But that's a good way for a student to build their network of friends here at the university as well. If your student is really struggling to find their place or is really not really connected with anyone here, I would welcome an opportunity to meet with them individually and see if I can connect them with an opportunity here. So I'm opening my own doors for your students to connect with me individually so that we can see if we can find a place for them on campus, and usually that works out. We also have the campus calendar. So there's a Colgate events calendar. So if your student ever tells you there's nothing on campus, you can point them to the Colgate events calendar where they'll see all the events happening for the semester. There's also a platform called Get Involved. So if you quickly Google search Colgate Get Involved, that'll take you to a website that gives a list of all the student organizations on campus. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you have any questions more specifically about student involvement, student engagement, please feel free to contact me through email or on social media, what have you. But thank you again for coming out, and welcome to Colgate.
Thanks so much, Dorsey. So Colgate has a unique and very purposeful administrative advising structure for students. Kim, can you give us a sense of what that means for our students here?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Colgate Family and Friends. I'm Kim Taylor, Dean for Advising and Student Conduct. What I hope you're hearing today as you sit in the seats on this important day is that we have a very intentionally designed system of support and advising for our students, with a particular eye on our newest students. So if you think about the things that folks have shared here today, your students walking into a system where they have a first-year seminar professor who is their academic advisor until they choose a major. They have an administrative dean, we'll talk about in a moment as well, who's assigned to them for 4 years, their whole time here. They have folks in their buildings associated with their residence hall, right? The area directors, the community leaders. They have the directors of their commons. And those people are all lined up in the same commons, in the same area, to focus on that group of students. So the administrative deans are a group of professional staff, wonderful folks, who have a caseload of students. And so for our first-year students, the same dean is the dean for everybody in that FSEM. And so they have communication with that faculty member, with all of those students. They write to the professor of that class, to the FSEM professor, to say, hey, I'm the dean for all the students in your class. Let's work together. I spent some time with the FSEM professors last week, and we just talked about sharing ideas about reaching out to each other, if faculty members are noticing anything about students, if they're falling behind or not connecting with that dean. So there are folks that reach out to that dean if they're noticing that your student may need a little bit of extra help. Your student will receive an email from their dean tomorrow introducing themselves, letting them know where their office is, how to get in touch with them, a little bit about themselves personally, what they like to do in their free time, maybe a picture of their dog, kind of humanize that a little bit, and invite them to come in for a conversation. I encourage you to encourage that in your student. We love to meet them. We love to get to know them. So those deans help students with all the types of things that can happen in a person's lives between the ages of 17 and 22 at a college like Colgate. So they help them largely teach them how to navigate a university. What do things mean? What is course registration? How do we change classes in drop add? They can talk to their FSUM professor about that too when they're doing academic advising. Perhaps in a couple of months they'll get a case of mono. I certainly hope not. And they'll have to miss a few days of class. And so we'll work with the Student Health Center and your student to help notify faculty that the student's going to be missing classes for a few days. Or if they had to return home for a family emergency in the next few years, we can notify faculty, talk with them about missing class and making sure they're in communication there. Students come in to see their deans if they're just thinking about whether they want to study abroad and how to do that. They may talk to their dean about the fact they're struggling a little bit in a class and make sure they're getting connected to tutoring services. So all of these things are meant to reassure you as parents and these students that there's somebody there that your student can turn to if they need help and assistance. Lastly, although we certainly endeavor to treat all of our students as adults, we also understand they are emerging adults and there can be bumps along the way, and that you as families know your student the best. So while we're not going to be reaching out to you every time your student comes in to talk to us about what class they want to take, feel free to reach out to us if you feel like as a dean, there's something that we need to know that's going on that would be helpful to us as we work with your student. We are more than happy to talk with you and work with you and engage and collaborate on ways to best support your student while they're here. So welcome, thank you for bringing all the energy back to campus, and we really look forward to getting to know all of you and your students really well. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. And you've heard a couple times already about students receiving emails from their professors, their deans. Just a quick tip or reminder that just about everything that the students need to know about or will hear about that's important is going to come to their Colgate email inbox. So you can help them and help us help them by reminding them that checking their email every day, maybe even multiple times a day, would be a good idea. So just wanted to point that out. So we also know, as Kim alluded to earlier, there may be times when a student might become ill or be struggling with mental or emotional challenges. So Dr. Larson, what do you want parents to know about the services that are in place to help them? And how can parents best support their students if they are sick or struggling in other ways?
Hi, everyone. Again, I met several of you somewhere along the path today, I think. I'm Dr. Ellen Larson, class of 94, as of today, an empty nester. So today's a big day at our house, too. So I'm here representing really three major services on campus. One is the Shaw Wellness Institute, the other is counseling and psychological services, and then student health services. We all work very closely together, and as you'll hear or have heard, we also work really closely with everybody else around, and we work collaboratively to make sure students are well supported. Shaw Wellness Institute does a lot of programming about ways to stay healthy and well and things that you can do. They also have a dietitian on staff who, if a student is struggling to find foods that they like or enjoy or are having any other concerns with meals, they can meet with the dietitian. The dietitian will meet them in the dining hall and actually walk through with them and help them find those things. There is also an alcohol and other drug counselor on site there, so if a student is struggling or if they're struggling to figure out how to say no, that person can be supportive. And they also have peer coaches. So for students who are just sort of struggling a little bit to figure out how to do this or how to do that or how to connect, they actually have other students who are trained as peer coaches and can connect with them, which I think sometimes is a little more comfortable than reaching out to others. Counseling and psychological services obviously is fully staffed with licensed counselors. They offer walk-in hours 5 days a week. So anytime, any day, Monday through Friday, students can just walk in. And I will often say, walking into counseling and psychological services is not a lifelong commitment to therapy. For many students, it's a one-time visit, just to say, oh my gosh, I'm completely overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. And with a couple of little hints or a little bit of a redirection or maybe referring to the Center for Teaching and Learning for some study skills help and those sorts of things can redirect that. Sometimes there is a longer need there and a more extensive need, and they are able to support that. They also run groups, which can actually be really supportive. It sounds kind of really scary, but when they present it, it's actually really awesome. Students together discussing the things that they're wrestling with and helping to support each other through that. And then finally, of course not least, student health services. We are very much like your home primary care provider if you had one, or a pediatrician. We can do just about everything and probably a little bit more that they did. But we're also doing it in the context of knowing that students are here and are stressed out and struggling with academics too. If someone has mono and is going to be out of class for a week, we know that that's stressful. And so we're able to help connect them with the supports they need and support them in those ways. We're also able to help either provide or connect with mental health prescribing needs. So if there are students who are on that path or have been on that path, we're able to help support that as well. Mostly really what I would ask you to do is have them call us. Please have them call us. Often we can get by with just having a nurse talk to someone and help talk them through what they can do to take care of themselves. And when they do need to come see us, or sometimes the nurse will talk to them and say, you know what, I want you to come down right now. So really do please just have them call us. That's really what I would ask is just to have them reach out. We did also require that everybody activate their medical portal. So again, having 2 students this age, I know that phone calls aren't always the favorite form of communication. And so through that medical portal, they're able to actually securely message us and tell us what their needs are, request an appointment, those sorts of things. So there's that. Student health services, counseling and psychological services are confidential services. So everything that happens there stays there between your student and us. We know that sometimes that is stressful and frustrating for parents who want to know what's going on. We can almost always bridge that gap working with the student and getting permission. But if we get a cold call from a parent and haven't already talked to the student about sharing information, the answer you might get is, we need to talk to your student first. And so understand that that's because we're respecting their space and we want them to have that safe place to be able to come talk about everything and anything. And we'll work very hard with them to bridge that communication so that we're able to share as much as we need to. I think I'm going to put that.
You got that covered. Thank you, Dr. Larson. And I do want to pick up on one other tip for you all. Whether it's calling student health services or any other department on campus, unlike a cell phone, our campus phones don't know who's calling. Oftentimes a student will call a department and say, hi, this is Jenny, please call me back, and they don't leave a number or a last name, and then the department just can't call them back because they do not know who called. And that's an adjustment because we're so used to our cell phones just telling us who's calling. So a tip for you to remind your student, if they are calling a department on campus, the campus phones, they need to leave a complete message with all their contact information.
Very much yes.
Yeah. So last but not least, we are in an idyllic setting here in Hamilton, New York, on this hill. And yet, proactively keeping this community safe and secure has to be a top priority. So Joe, could you share the safety measures that we have in place and how families can stay plugged in to what we do?
Absolutely. So again, much like everyone said, welcome, hi. My name is Joe. The teams I have the fortunate ability to oversee are campus safety, environmental health, and fire safety. So everything from making sure your smoke detectors and doors aren't blocked and all that fun stuff, our teams are out there checking that, as well as in the labs and everywhere you're doing research, our folks are in there making sure that they're OSHA compliant and they're all within the safe parameters that our environmental health and safety team does. And then also our campus safety officers, which you've probably at some point today bumped into, or they told you to park, or you went there and they went there. They were all out there today helping you. They're 24/7, 365. They're out here all the time. When you're not here, your students aren't here. Nights, holidays, weekends, those folks are out here keeping this community safe. We have a great working relationship with our local law enforcement, local fire department, and much of the other local first responder and emergency services units within the area. We train and exercise all the time. We also work very closely on working groups and things in various stakeholder communities within the region. So we have really good partnerships with other folks in the area, as well as just our neighboring state school, SUNY Morrisville. We have a great working relationship with them. But I will say, we are very fortunate to be in a safe community, but the concept see something, say something never goes away. So, if your student sees a bear, they should tell somebody. Not that we don't have a lot of bears, so that's a thing to report. You shouldn't wait till Monday to tell your faculty member to tell your other faculty member who tells someone at a staff meeting, and then they tell me 4 days later the bear has moved on. So just little things like that, to see something, say something. And with that, there's different ways to get a hold of us. Again, we are 365. What we tell faculty, staff, employees all the time is whether you're here, you're away, you're internationally doing work, if you need Colgate resources, you can guarantee there's one number that a person's always going to pick up on the other end of that, and that's campus safety. So if you want to take the time, you can pull your phones out. I'll give you a number to program. I'll wait, don't worry. So 315-228-7333. It's also available on the website. But that number, 365, nights, weekends, holidays, I guess all the other things mentioned before about giving your student time to grow and learn here. The frequent call we get is, little Joey hasn't answered his phone in 2 weeks. Can you go check on him? We'll go check on him. But at the same token, please let them grow and learn as well. But we're here to check and ensure they're safe as well. So, 228-7333. Long name, amazing results. And then the other thing I would ask that you tell your students to do, and you can do as well, is we have a safety app that's available. So if you go into any app store, Android or Apple, and look up the app called RAVE, R-A-V-E, Guardian, and you'll find that app, and you can download, and your student can affiliate that to Colgate University, and then it's a great way to submit tips anonymously, communicate with our team directly, real time. And at the same time, the concept, it turns your phone into a walking blue light. So you do see that we have blue lights around campus. Sometimes they're down for repairs and things like that happen. But the fact that you can, at any given time, with the magic of your phone, have that app on your phone and have a blue light in your pocket is a great tool for you and your students to have. Additionally, just to point one little feature out on the app is that there's an ability to do a safety timer. So the concept behind that is that I'm walking from my resident hall to the library late at night or back or forth, and I can say, hey, it takes me 10, 15 minutes to do that. I set that timer and I walk. And you, as their family member, can be invited to see that timer and be notified if that timer expires. So it provides a sense of safety and security that you know that your student made it there safely. And then if they don't, it does notify you and it'll notify us, and then we can go assist them if there was an emergency. But like I said, we are very engaged in our safety, and we take it very seriously and proactively. And if there's anything you can remember here today, it's see something, say something, and program that number in your phone. Thanks.
Let's give it a hand for everybody. Thank you so much. So as I mentioned, we're going to dispense with the planned skits, knowing that there's a thunderstorm coming a little later this afternoon. We want to get you all to be able to move on a little more quickly. We do have a few minutes for any questions that you might have for one of our panelists. The question is, everything that was just presented here, will it be presented to the students?
I can speak to my material, yes. And I believe my colleagues as well. There'll be separate sessions that will happen in the commons, within the halls, within various meetings throughout campus, where we'll have an opportunity to engage groups in small group, large group. The benefit of this week is they will be fed through a fire hose of knowledge and information on things that, so if we can get a couple things to stick, we'll take that, but definitely we'll be meeting them and providing this material as well.
Thank you. Up here. So the question is health services just 9 to 5, but what happens if there's an after-hours emergency?
Yeah, so Student Health Services is open. It is a 9 to 5 office. We are open on Saturdays from 12 to 4 as well. After hours and on weekends, the local community hospital does have an urgent care, and there is always the emergency room as well. It is not yet up and running. We are in the process of putting in place a triage nurse phone line at night. So if there was a situation where a student was sick and they didn't know if maybe they could wait until Monday or maybe wait until the morning, or should I really go get seen tonight, there would be a nurse available to speak to. That is not in place yet, but we are working towards that. So,
Thank you. So I think I heard your question. It's what are the current COVID protection protocols? And what was the second part?
vaccine.
Will we administer vaccines when they're available to students, the boosters?
So in regards to COVID testing this year, we are primarily focusing on symptomatic testing. There is not any required surveillance testing for everybody. We are not at this point offering asymptomatic testing. Every student on this campus has access to 8 free tests from the government. They just have to get on that website and put in their box number, and they can have 8 free tests delivered to them so they can have them in hand. Student Health Services does have testing for symptomatic students. We have both rapid antigen testing and a 45-minute PCR test available if necessary and appropriate. So that's the question about testing. In returns to vaccine or boosters when they become available, we'll be working with the 2 local pharmacies. If and when vaccines and boosters become available, we will set up vaccine clinics. This is the way we do flu shot clinics as well. We work with the 2 local pharmacies. We bring them onto campus and we open that up for people to sign up to be able to get those vaccines. So if those new, I know everybody's anxiously awaiting the new booster. If that new booster becomes available this fall, we will be working with the local pharmacies to bring them onto campus to make those available. Does that answer your questions? Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? In the way back. So transportation, if student needs to get back home. So we have what's called the on-demand shuttle. It's part of our cruiser transportation system. They can go right on the website and book a ride to the Syracuse airport or to the Syracuse or Utica train and bus stations so that they can get themselves, depending on which direction they're going, they can get a shuttle to the public transportation. For weekends, there is also a megabus that comes, I believe, on Fridays and takes students to Port Authority. I think that's every weekend. They leave on Friday, they come back on Sunday. So if someone needs to get to New York City, that's a regular thing.
And then there's new My Bus Home, right?
For breaks, yeah. That's for the midterm break, the winter break, the spring break, and return home. If you happen to be from Westchester County or the Boston area, there's a company called My Bus Home that sells tickets to, I think it's Newton, Massachusetts, and White Plains, New York. They leave the day the break starts and come back the day before classes resume.
And the students also sometimes will carpool. So the SGA usually has a list of people who are going away for breaks or longer weekends, and students can sign up there to ride with others who may be going to similar areas to where they're from or areas that they're just trying to travel to.
Great. For the on-demand shuttle, at least several days in advance is best. If the on-demand shuttle, it's dependent on when their flight is and how early they need to get to the airport. At the breaks, there are also often specifically scheduled shuttles on that day where, a couple times during the day there's a shuttle to the airport and back when we have large volumes of students going. So the question is, what is the protocol if a student either contracts COVID or is exposed to COVID and is a close contact? Dr. Larson?
Hi. So that is a shift this year. We no longer have a significant space for isolation like we had in the past, bringing everybody back, and as we evolve back to sort of more normal life. We do not have the massive isolation spaces we have. So it will be an isolation in place situation this year. So students will stay in the room, much as though we did when people had the flu. When people had the flu, we had them stay in their room. Their roommate or a friend would bring them food, those sorts of things. What we will be doing is screening roommates who might be at very high risk, and we will be pulling out or offering the option to pull out roommates who are medically very high risk. And those are sort of the standard CDC list of high-risk students who are immunosuppressed in those situations. So those students we will be offering the opportunity to pull out, but otherwise, in many ways, this is evolving to managing it like we would the flu, even though we know that we're not exactly there.
Thank you. The MyBus Home, where does it leave from? It leaves from right here on campus. They usually pick up, I believe it's on Lally Lane by the Student Union. Yeah. Anybody else? Do we do any sexual harassment training? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we do. All incoming students had required modules for bias and discrimination, DEI, and sexual harassment, and they'll also have a session in their orientation to learn more about resources, both for reporting and for helping a friend or reaching out for confidential resources. We also have a strong policy and process to respond to incidents of bias, discrimination, or sexual assault or harassment as well. That's all in the student handbook. If you just Google Colgate Student Handbook, it's all in there.
Shaw Wellness Center also has several students who are trained in bystander intervention, so they are often training other students how to intervene if you're seeing something that needs to be stopped. So there is also bystander intervention training happening within the students as well. Ooh, sorry.
Also, all student leaders have to go through a mandatory bias training for sexual harassment and sexual assault as well.
Thanks. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much for all who did. I have a few more remarks real quick and a quick little video to show you, but we'll be done in just a few minutes. So now as you start pedaling from behind on that tandem bicycle that Dean McLaughlin mentioned, I want you to know that it's my job to serve as a communications bridge to you, the parents, loved ones and guardians and other caregivers of your students as they navigate their college careers. I'm here to provide information that will help you make the most of your roles in your students' success here at Colgate. I've outlined them on the slide on the screen. I have worked here at Colgate and in the communications office for more than 25 years. For many of those years, I was editor of the university magazine. That meant that I was telling the stories of our students, our faculty, and our fantastic alumni, and how Colgate makes their journeys possible through so many wonderful academic, extracurricular, and developmental opportunities. That experience gave me deep knowledge of this place, and that today helps me to be a resource for parents and family members. So while Colgate has been welcoming students to campus for more than 200 years, we recognize this is a new moment in your family's life. We also recognize that college is an unfamiliar experience for some of you. And for all of you, it is a transition, it's an adjustment, and it is a learning process. I'm in close touch with this great team and so many other people from across campus in creating communications that will help you stay informed and to answer your questions, hopefully before maybe you've even thought of them. Most of this information will come by email, and of course, there is much to be found on Colgate's website. We want to provide what will be most helpful to you, and that would be an anticipation of key moments in the academic timeline and in important milestones in your student's experience. For example, your student may want to talk through with you about decisions that they are going to make, such as the major that they're going to choose, or maybe an opportunity like studying abroad. So we will provide information for when those conversations come up. We'll explain also how things work here, and we'll keep you apprised of upcoming events that family members are invited to. But even as I share this information over these coming 4 years, please take note that this is to help provide opportunities for you to connect directly with your students about things that they're doing here, rather than a request or a directive for you to take over that steering on the bike. Please also know I can be a point of contact for you directly. If you have questions on something that you're not finding a ready answer to online, start with me and I will do my best to connect you with the resources that you're looking for. And you don't even have to remember my name. You can just email the parents@colgate.edu email address. And I do also welcome phone calls. If you didn't get a handout card on the way in, make sure to pick one up on the way out. And please know also, I welcome input from you in terms of if you don't see information or resources that could be helpful to you, let me know. Share your feedback with me. A quick plug for Family Weekend. We hope many of you will come back to campus. That will be October 21st through 23rd. Keep your eye on your email. In early September, we will send out a registration email. So I wish all of your students an exciting and fruitful academic year and a safe trip home for all of you. One more thing before you go. We know that you might be anxious about your students finding their way here. So we'd like to end with a very short video that shares a sense of this place, this vibrant and diverse community where their 4-year journey now begins. Thank you so much, everybody. We do hope that you will join us down at the tent for the welcome with President Casey and our senior leadership at 2:30.